Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. Welcome to the Depression Recovery Channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Today is Flashback Friday, a feature in which I republish one of my earlier videos you might not have seen that contains really important coping strategies that will help you attain a better mood. Now here's today's video. The title of today's video is How to Overcome Social Anxiety. It's the third in our series called The Quest to Connect, three videos. The first is called Social, why our brains are hardwired to connect. And the second is called How to Overcome Loneliness. I have these two videos, the links posted in the information description of this channel in case you haven't seen them. But again, this is the third of a three-part series all about the importance of human connection. But of course, before I start, we have to get some good puns in here. I've got three of them for you today, and I think they're all kind of nice. What did the mother coffee bean say to the baby coffee bean? You're grounded. Did you hear about the cross-eyed teacher that got fired? Well, she just couldn't control her pupils. And this is the favorite one of my videographers. You know, I have had a lot of different problems in my life, health problems. I just came up with a really rare disorder. For no reason, I yell out, broccoli, cauliflower, broccoli, cauliflower. I went to a psychiatrist and he diagnosed me with Florette syndrome. All right, here we go. So this is about overcoming social anxiety. However, I have to say something at the beginning. There's a disclaimer at the start of every video that we do, and it basically says that the information in this video is for informational purposes only and does not replace diagnosis and treatment by a qualified mental health professional. So if we talk about social anxiety disorder or social phobia in this video, and you think you might have some symptoms or might be suffering from it, please call up your local mental health professional, psychologist, social worker, psychiatrist, counselor, and get some professional help. That would be wonderful. In our first video of this series called Social, we established the biological fact that human interactions are necessary for our mental and physical health. However, for some people, social situations bring up anxiety. Now, a certain amount of anxiety is normal, right? You're giving a presentation, you're going out on your first date, right? You're about to take a test. This is all normal anxiety. However, when it gets to the point where the anxiety is so great that it causes you to fear social situations, you develop a phobia, and you avoid them in interacting with people, then you have social anxiety, which is something that, of course, is getting in the way of this need for human connection. That's why we're going to talk about it and show some ways about how you can deal with it. Now, what exactly lies behind this fear and avoidance of social situations? Well, for this answer, I turn to one of my favorite sites, the Mayo Clinic on the internet, of course. And here's what they listed as the major symptoms of social anxiety disorder. Persistent, intense fear or anxiety about specific social situations because you believe you may be judged, embarrassed, or humiliated. Avoidance of anxiety-producing social situations or enduring them with intense fear or anxiety. Excessive anxiety that's out of proportion to the situation. Anxiety or distress that interferes with your daily living. And finally, this fear, anxiety, or avoidance is persistent, typically lasting 6 months or more. And this is different than like, I just went to a wedding, and I know having been married myself, it's a lot of stress and anxiety coming up to the wedding. You're basically preparing for a final exam, same thing, or you're getting ready to perform on stage. You know, you can have this kind of anxiety about social situations because of an event, but once the event stops, then it goes away. This kind of anxiety, this social anxiety, persists for more than 6 months, and it's just a part of your everyday life. And that's the difference. Fortunately, social anxiety can be treated in the same way as other anxiety disorders, through a combination of psychotherapy and, in some cases, medication. The most popular therapy is called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and what this involves is disputing irrational thoughts in your mind, such as, people are looking at me and judging me. Well, the truth is that most people are so busy thinking about themselves, they don't really have much time to focus on you or anybody else. The therapy I really like best is called exposure therapy, and that's getting you gradually more exposed to the thing you're most afraid of. When I was in college, we called it systematic desensitization. It was very, very popular and very successful. It was used to, again, overcome phobias of specific things like fear of snakes or fear of flying. So let me tell you a personal story about how someone overcame social anxiety. It's actually a member of my group. Let's call him David. When he first showed up, he had to drag himself to get here. It was an immense struggle. Fortunately, the group only had 6 people. The previous week, he'd gone to a Depression Bipolar Support Alliance group with 40 people. Well, obviously, he didn't even get through the front door, right? But he somehow managed to get into my group. And the first couple of weeks, he didn't say hardly anything. But gradually, week after week, he started to open up. And after about 3 months, he was just as chatty as anybody. I said, well, David, what happened? He said, well, after a while, I just got used to you folks. So again, gradually exposing himself to this situation, the anxiety dissipated. I haven't, my goodness, there's a story about me. I just thought of, oh my God. Hey, I had a phobia of talking to girls when I was in high school, women, whatever. I was such a nerd. I didn't even go out dating. And when I was in college in my second year, finally somebody agreed to go out with me. I was so nervous and so anxious I couldn't even hold her hand. Well, that was a flop. Then I transferred to New York University. Now I'm 21. And I finally came up with something that helped. I used to go up to what we call the quadrangle, and see women reading like textbooks. And I'd bend over and say, hey, that looks interesting. Is that a sociology course? Yeah. Oh, how's the professor? Is he grade hard? Yeah, no, he's all right. So I say, well, thank you very much. And I go on to the next person. And I just trained myself to go up to the objects of my anxiety, women, females. And after doing this for about 3 or 4 weeks, it became easier and easier and easier. And that's how I overcame my fear of being around the opposite sex. Just gradual, repeated exposure in situations that were really quite non-threatening. So as we can see by these 2 stories, this is exactly what happens in exposure therapy. After a while, when you become familiar with a person or situation, the fears start to dissipate, and so does the anxiety. So it's, again, continually exposure to the thing you're afraid of. And that's why, of course, my good friend Susan Jeffers, who wrote a book, actually his best-selling book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. God, what a great title for a book. And it was a great book, too. It is a great book. It's still in print. Finally, in addition to the cognitive behavioral therapy, disputing the beliefs, in addition to the exposure therapy, also there can be some medications that are used to treat social anxiety. The first of these are the SSRIs, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Sounds like we could make a song out of that. Anyway, Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil. And in 1999, God, that was 20 years ago. My goodness, Paxil was approved by the FDA for the treatment of social anxiety. So somehow this medication, for some people, in addition to dealing with the depression, it helps calm them down. The second kind of medications that are used are ones we've all heard of, the benzodiazepines, Xanax, Ativan, what have we got, Klonopin, and there's one other, but Valium, of course. Mother's little helper, right? Valium from the 1950s. Anyway, these all act very quickly. The problem is too quickly, and that you feel too good, so it's very easy to get dependent on them. And the third class are called the beta blockers. Propranolol is the one that we've all heard of. It's actually a blood pressure medication, but what it really does is it lowers the heart rate and gets rid of racing hearts, sweaty hands, and shaking. This is ideal for people who have to go on stage, who have performance anxiety, either giving a speech or playing an instrument in an orchestra. As a matter of fact, again, one of the members of my group plays the French horn, and he says that he and the other members of the orchestra often will take some propranolol before they go on stage, and it helps smooth the performance over. Finally, in addition to what I've shared, you can use techniques that are used to treat generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. After all, social anxiety is a form of anxiety, so these are like classic tools like exercise, deep breathing, mindfulness meditation, affirmations, putting your face in a sink of cold water and holding your breath. It's called the dive response. Anyway, there are lots of them, and I summarize them all in a video that you might want to see called How to Rewire Your Anxious Brain. It's actually become my most popular video, and I will put a link to it right here. And what else is there? I think I was going to mention one other thing. Oh, yes. So I was asked by the Unity Church last year to do a webinar, as opposed to a seminar, an online seminar for people who suffered from anxiety, and I came up with a 88-slide presentation, 88 frames. My God, it took me about 6 months to put it together, but it was worth it because people appreciate it. And I have that slideshow in a PDF document, which anybody can see on their computer. And if you write me, douglasbloch@gmail.com, I will send you a free copy of that slideshow, and I think you'll really appreciate it. This has been Douglas Bloch. I hope you found the information on this Flashback Friday video helpful. If so, please give it a like, as likes draw more and more people to this channel and hopefully some more subscribers. You can also leave your comments in the comments section or email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you do want to subscribe to this channel, click on my photo in the closing credits. You'll be taken to my subscribe page. And if you click on the bell to the right, you'll be notified every time I do a new video or live chat. And if you want to contribute to this channel and become a patron, simply click on the Patreon image. You'll be taken to my crowdfunding site. And until next video, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you so much.